Ready to go.
Welcome to the Claymont Board of Education's regular board meeting. Roll call.
Commissioner Cottrell?
Here.
Mrs. Grandison? Here. Mrs. Host? Here. Mr. Miles?
Here.
Mrs. Wilkins? Here.
Stand for the pledge, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Combination.
First, I want to say that the chairs, you say they really look pretty. They're from the high school conference room because Altman is moving into office spaces. They have no place to put chairs, so we thought we'll come over, take the 20-year-old chairs. Don't look too close because they do show their age. And but they're at one point, one of them you can take the arm completely off. So
It's mine.
so
In case you want to throw it at somebody.
that's where they're from. Commendations. Last week, Mr. Watkins and Mrs. Henry presented at the Ohio Secondary Administrators Conference with Franklin Covey, and they presented on the Leader in Me. So they had a session regarding what they do at the middle school. So I just want to commend them. I think I mentioned that prior to, but they were down last week. I want to commend Alex Tarakitis for his participation at the state track meet. Huge accomplishment just to get there and to be participating. And just today, I did get a message from Mrs. Campbell, or Miss Campbell. It says, Brian and staff, thanks so much for allowing us to host Sports in the Bag at Claymont Stadium. Special thanks to the maintenance crew at the stadium and to Gary Watkins and the basketball program. Several of the players stayed and helped for the entire event. Approximately 125 students participated. So if you're not familiar with the Sports in the Bags, that was through the Lindy and Fonte Foundation. And the kids could go up and they could get a hot dog and a couple other items for food. And they could pick a bag of sport, ball that they wanted. So whether they wanted football, soccer ball, basketball, or whatever, that was all provided through the Lindy and Fonte Foundation. And Martha was kind of heading that up. I don't have any more commendations, but I think the board members do.
We don't have any public participation. Administrative reports.
And one short thing, I got an email today, and Kelly knows it. We were a step up to quality review, and we are still 5 stars for our preschool.
That's awesome.
In your board packet, Education Week, the high school was mentioned within the article on the students who are part of the mental health response, and that was for their PUPS program. So I know that was in your board packet, and hopefully you were able to take some time, or will take some time to take a look at that. But I want to commend them, and that was part of their. And then Beth, did you want to highlight anything in your report?
Actually, I think really I listed a lot of the different projects. All of them have started, so it was a busy, the June 5th was very busy getting everybody started, and with the good weather, we are doing well. Everything's running on schedule. Really no issues on any of the demo that we did in the office areas, and all that demo is done. So no gotchas on everything was pretty much as we thought. So I think that's going well. And I'm still, so far, the steps that have not started, that's for July, met with the company. They are still planning on starting, as they told us. And I do think if you notice the wall, the brick wall, I mean, there, you saw, if you see there's concrete block, you can see exposed, that's the wall behind the brick. They actually started doing the brick on the left side. So that's way sooner than what their original timeline was to get with us. So that's hopefully, you never know with weather, but I know today it was raining and I didn't expect to see them and they were there working. So there must be they say they don't work when it's raining, but must have been just sparse enough that they were able to keep doing some work. So any questions you have for me?
Yeah, but I understand the picture is nice. It's all perspective.
That was Mr. Rich. He's
the picture.
He went around and did pictures. So,
Well,
And I thought the opposite, I'm like, man, I'm gonna have to go see this, I cannot visualize this.
and the pictures out,
But
so.
no, even then, I'm like, I still don't, I'm just not that, that's not how, you know what I mean, I was like, I gotta go to see it, but it's not.
do you want to pull it up? Since we're talking construction.
Okay, the pictures.
Yeah.
Beth, before, I just want to say, I appreciate the continuous time that you've been putting into with the stadium over there with the replacement roof. Not throwing anybody under the bus, but it's just nice to finally do a project where it does have some curb appeal. Not that we've got a discount on this brick, we put it up, like we have done in the past. Things look really nice.
We try to tie things
So-
together, paint is your friend. I mean, it really does. I mean, when we looked at that storage building, first that building that we didn't really know what we were gonna do with. And, then said, well, if we make it a storage building, it doesn't all have to be up to code because we see we have. But then we had 3 different kinds of brick, things, so
Right.
paint made it all kind of tie together, and I think it does look cohesive.
It looks nice.
Thank you. So, okay, where are the pictures? I'm not
It's part of
sure.
the slideshow,
Okay,
so you'll have to share the screen first
is
because,
it this presentation? This
yes,
one? Okay.
yes.
All right. This one.
So, and then where we're at with the projects. So I don't know if that's the first one. Is that the first one? Must be.
It's first on the slide.
Okay, the elementary building, if you can see on the right-hand side where there's sidewalk, that will have a space where there'll be handicap accessibility and there'll be a sidewalk in a grassy area going around to the bus canopy, to the main new doors. So that, when I talked to the contractor last week, he was hoping to kind of get started here the next several weeks regarding that particular area.
Yeah, just follows that curve.
Yeah.
Along here, and they'll cut somewhere in here, and there'll be actually a crosswalk
To the
across
cars.
here for handicap.
So as you entered in the first set of doors, this is now where parents will have access to the office or be buzzed into the office. Didn't take them long to get that whole cut in that section. So if you see the yellow stake there alongside of to the left of the picture, that's where the other door is on the interior part. So that door is where you'll step in. So, and you can imagine kind of where Shannon will be sitting inside that area, inside that interior door.
So that'll be a door to go into Shannon's office, or it'll be like one of those half doors where people will talk to her there?
It'll be on the
It'll
buzzer.
be on the buzzer system.
They'll actually go in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll be buzzed in.
Into that door.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Is there any more pictures inside? I haven't seen.
Yes, there will be.
Okay. I'll be able to maybe.
So I'm standing in that doorway. If you can picture where that last slide was, I'm standing in the doorway. So to the left, I've labeled it, that's where the clinic will be. And then the family advocate will have an office space there in the corner. And they were just laying the studs for the principal's office. There were Beth's running the cursor. Shannon will be able to look into the clinic if there's any students in there. So that space is kind of undefined right now, is where Shannon will be. So, and,
What's the family advocate?
Randy Clark.
Randy, okay.
Did,
If you go against the wall, there will be a hallway back in there by the family advocate office.
Okay.
So it'll go back into there, and then it will open up, and it'll go into the, yes, it'll go into the adjoining, there's the principal's layout. It goes into the adjoining office where there'll be a conference room and storage and tech room. Okay, and then currently where Richard is in the restrooms, that's being untouched. So that will be like storage area and things of that nature. So that won't be changing. That area is where the back of that area is by the windows where the nurse was, and then Shannon was toward the front. And so now there'll be conference room and there'll be a tech storage area in that office. So they've come along there because they delivered, go ahead to the next slide, but they had delivered drywall last week also, and they were to our buildings. This is the front of the entrance at the high school where they just took out the brick. Not much has been done as far as demo at the high school yet. So you go ahead to the next slide. So I took this picture about where Brenda would be located in the office. So, yeah, so there will be, I put a yellow line, you can kind of barely see it, right where the cursor is. There's a yellow line where a kind of imaginary wall will be, where there'll be that she'll have her correspondence between the parents. But that's where Brenda will be located, and that doorway to the left that's open, that cuts back into where the guidance, the counselors are. And then there's another picture, I think I took one from the main entrance. That's the whole gutted office area. Yeah. Out front will be guidance type material.
All they, yeah, all they be by the guidance area. So right here, we are going to add a door right here to give guidance some privacy.
I don't know, is anything?
What,
Yeah.
The door, this is our hallway, and they originally had all of the stuff along the hallway on tables, like scholarship applications and all those things. It was really crowded back in there. Plus, Mrs. Khan was just really worried about, their kids that are going back and they're getting things, and there's confidential things where kids might be working with guidance counselors. Something confidential, it's just trying to pull that stuff. It'll be out more accessible out front here. And the waiting space is out here for anybody waiting to see the counselors in the back. And there will be, we're gonna take this door that came off the other door, because this is like now a main thoroughfare. You went through there and down here. If you come in late or you're coming back from Kent or any of those to sign in, that's how you're gonna come through here, out this door, through here, out into the lobby. This will be a door that's closed, so if you have something with the counselors, they'll come out and get you. We'll be waiting up here for them. They'll come out and get you and take you back, and this is all that stuff. It looks big from this.
It does look very big.
It's as big as what it looks.
So this area is where Brenda sat.
She was currently, yes, with all those buildings are all pulled out. So there will be bookshelves and stuff that go back in this space that were pulled out from back in the back that we were going to repurpose. Furniture. No, I think that I'm not sure. I'm not sure what.
have we decided
Who was going to, if the kids are waiting.
on the doors?
Counselor, who's
Just
going
a
to tell the
question.
counselor they're waiting.
When we talk about those half doors.
Yeah, I think they are, yeah.
Brenda will be able to see, this is her doing it her space too. She's got 2 access points into her area. Like,
So she'll be able to
can't get, people that come in can't walk into Brenda's area. It's like if she buzzes them in, there's a door here, then it's gonna be a door, and then they come out this way if she's buzzing them in. If she chooses to close it, this door, if it stays open, kids could come here and sit and just say, I'm here I need to see so-and-so. I would assume she would just kind of call them and say, hey, so-and-so needs to speak with you, and ask them to sit, like there used to be some chairs out here. So here, wait, and then the guidance would come out and get them and take them back. So.
And the doors that we have are the half doors, correct? With the,
Half glass, half metal.
kind of like those doors, so you can't come through the full entire door.
Yeah, metal at the bottom. yes.
Metal on the bottom.
Yes.
Okay. And then this, from the intermediate building, those are the beams that were up above the windows. And at some point, if you can see there on the top beam in that picture, they have tried to reinforce the beam years ago, so they were putting that up. They're pretty rusty from what's laying out there right now, but at some point, the best attempts to make sure that they were secured were accomplished. So they're moving along pretty well. And they go to the next one. Now that was last week, so they have all that blocked. They set the beams like Wednesday in space. They took that skidder extension and ran the beam up, and then they moved it and set them in place, the beams up and set them in places. And they started blocking Thursday, and by Friday, they had everything secured, and now they're bricking. When I talked to that construction worker, I had thought they were supposed to jump over and do this side, but his boss, I guess, must have told him that they're supposed to block that side, get it done, then move over. So they've come along pretty quickly in the time frame that they've had, because those beams came down late last week, or early last week, and they were already in place and secured. So that's the intermediate. And then the last one I think I have is the primary building. That is it's down, the office will be down by where the library is. So that is the doorway going into that section.
This is the outside door, right?
Yes. So
Outside door.
outside door, there's interior doors which will remain locked. They cut the hole there by the painter's legs. That's where they'll step into an area, getting into the offices when they want to come visit, so get buzzed there. So then, yeah. So I think the next picture is standing in that doorway. So there's a holding area where that paint bucket is. They can't go any further until they're permitted to go through that. That'll be a door. And there will be a window to the right there where Mikkel will be able to converse with the people that have come into the office. Okay, so go ahead to the next one. And that's looking into the window. So Mikkel's office area is that rectangular pen that she has. So that way it's a little difficult because staff will be able to walk in where that guy is standing. There's that doorway there and walk around. But that prevents them from walking up on top of her in her workspace. They have to come around the wall to kind of get into her work area. And they'll have countertop around there. She helped with the layout in that. So the next couple slides, that's where the Principal Kelly will be. And she'll have access to the conference room library. There will be a door that's still there we didn't take out, so that's still available. Can you go back to the previous slide? No. To the
Wait, second.
bottom left hand, there you go.
Wait,
One more.
Right there.
That doorway there where that guy's standing, you walk into that would be Kelly's office door. Okay, so go ahead to the next one. And then that's her office. And then this would be the clinic. That would have been, that's to the left of Kelly's office. And I think that's the end of the slide. So a lot has happened since school's been out. The primary building is way ahead because they had a week of spring break to get that room caught up, and they had studs formed and all that prior to on spring break. Okay.
No, I mean, they're accepting applications and things are moving along, so not much happening there either.
Well, athletic council, the three of us with athletic council a couple weeks ago, at least. The big discussion was wrestling, girls wrestling and adding girls wrestling. We had decided that that girls can still participate in wrestling. If there are any that want to go off and participate at the sectional and advance to district and then get to state, they have that opportunity, but right now the umbrella is wrestling. And we'll keep the club below high school. And as kids continue to grow within the program, and I think in yesterday's Times Reporter article, Justin summarized it, within the next couple years, we'll see those kids grow in numbers. And then at that point, we'll make the decision as far as adding a separate team for them or not. But we're kind of, Justin, when we spoke, was modeling it like against a Minerva, a Steubenville, where you have the umbrella of the program, and then they can still participate at that next level once those tournaments start. Am I correct in how we
I thought
discussed?
that you had to have a girls' team in order for the girls to be able to wrestle at the state. That's not true.
You
They can
had,
wrestle because there's boys, I mean, girls and boys can be able to wrestle. That's
Right.
nothing new. It's been that way forever.
Right.
But now that the state has sanctioned, OHSAA has said, hey, we now have girls wrestling. I thought that in order for the girls, because there's all the points and all that other stuff, but I thought in order for them to be able to wrestle girls state, you had to have a team. That's not the case.
they will be able to participate under, they'll have it, they don't have to, they could be individuals, but we won't have enough from what was reported that we'll maybe have 2 kids next year at high school level. So they won't be a full team, but they'll be
No, I
individuals.
know that.
I don't believe so. And the way I understand this, I know last year I knew somebody from another school district. She wrestled with the boys team, but then when it came time, girls go straight to regionals. They don't have a sectional district state,
Right.
it's regionals and state, and you can go as an individual,
To state.
yes, to wrestle in that regionals and qualify for state.
And we know that for certain. What I don't want to have, I know girls can wrestle on the boys team and I get all that, but what I don't want to have happen is and I'm sure Justin Jones knows and I can call him and ask him, and I probably will later on this week, is I don't want girls to go out for the varsity team, right? And they're wrestling boys, or they'll go find tournaments or whatnot, and then get to the end of the season and we didn't do our due diligence and now they can't wrestle at state in the girls tournament. That makes sense. So, but I know I asked Justin, it just- I just want to make sure that we're
Right.
giving the girls the opportunity that they deserve as well. But I know they can wrestle on the boys team, they have for years.
And then from what Justin explained, and he and I had conversations after, that they would have that opportunity to go off and wrestle in the girls' tournaments. Until they get that point, that they may go, as was discussed, they may have a record of, 4-0 or weighing in with hardly any competition because of who they may have not have wrestled through the year. But once we sign and click the button at OHSA that we will have some girl participants, they'll have that opportunity to participate at that state level.
Right, we have to tell the state though.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying, yeah. When I had talked to Jones last time, that's what he said. We're gonna wait and see what kind of interest we have at the high school level before we say we're gonna. In
Supposedly,
theory, have a team,
yeah.
because you don't wanna say that and then nobody comes out, and then
Right.
you have to resend it, and then it just
Yeah.
becomes, which
Suppose-
I agree with. I
Yeah.
think it's a great strategy for them.
supposedly there are 2 kids interested in wrestling next year. So they still continue on, then he'll have
I'll
them.
take care of it.
We'll take care of it, so they can still wrestle. I did see over, I guess over the weekend, they participated, like 10 or 12 girls participated at a tournament somewhere. I'm not sure where they were, but they were.
They're all over, yeah.
Did they get
77 teams.
That's
That
awesome.
doesn't mean there was 4 teams, they didn't have.
Oh, yeah.
But, we had a couple, everybody placed in the top 4.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
That says something for, I think, what, Coach Marsh, Coach,
Peters?
Peter, Solomon Peters, and then there's one of, I think there's one
The
other.
article was very, you see the article on the
I didn't see the article, but good.
How about location? Is there any more discussion on location or it's just going to be down to wrestling room or for the club?
I'll be honest, we haven't had any discussion regarding it since we had athletic council.
And then practice it on Friday.
Practice on Friday,
Yeah, like that was
All summer, they've got that scheduled every Friday.
They're fundraising, I mean, in order to obviously, because we have another custodian and all that, so.
Was Justin supposed to reach out to Todd Marsh after our meeting?
I thought so.
He has not, so just remind him to do so.
Yep.
Well, I know Coach Marsh has taken the initiative to seek and understand everything he can. I mean, I put him in touch with my brother, who's the varsity coach at Montgomery, who has had girl wrestlers and had girl wrestling teams. So I know there's like an email group of all the girl coaches that he was connecting him with. So I know Coach Marsh has taken an initiative. So I think we told him when he was here the last time. I appreciate that he's taking that. He has a daughter, and obviously he has personal interest in it. He wants her to be successful, but the fact that he's wrapping his arms, we all are, around that and building that program for the girls, I think is great.
I do. I want to discuss, I asked to pull this separately, and I just want to get better clarification. It's letter T under superintendents. It's letter T. Yep. Approve the administrative salary schedule as presented. And I just want to clarify, last year around this time, we pulled all administrative contracts and we changed job description. Is that correct? Or what did we do with these contracts? I should ask.
Reviewed and updated job descriptions and had all your administrators sign off on the job descriptions that they had. But we had the attorney for policies just update current job responsibilities.
Now yours, the superintendents and treasurers was pulled, is that correct? From, like, they're not underneath the administrative, what you're recommending tonight. Correct. So I'm asking, there was, during negotiations from our team, we had administrators in there negotiating their contract. Is that correct?
We had administrators on the team at that point. I mean, yes, there were administrators there when we were having negotiations.
And then they're reaping the whole 5% they're going to, as CEA is getting. That's correct. So these administrators' contracts are going to be 5%. So it's a big jump from a CEA member starting out at 30,000. 5% with steps is going to be what, 1,500, and then someone making $100,000.
I would say 76 is the lowest one on here, 76,000.
And then making 100,000, which is $5,000 on that plus steps. I mean, to me, that's a big jump. I mean, I feel these administrative contracts should be based on their job performance, and some of them do, deserve raises, but some of them, but that's the whole thing with this is why you're in the union. They're not in the union. They're not paying their dues. This is a whole contract. To me, if you're giving someone a 3-year contract, this is just me, this is my opinion, giving someone a 3-year contract, they should have that in this is what you're going to make year 1, year 2, and year 3. And then after year 3, we'll negotiate your contract. If you've been doing everything to T, and then we'll set your, your wage, and it will increase. But if not, it stays the same. That's just me.
So what you're saying, it should be more individualized
I feel.
for the administrative.
I feel. Now,
Isn't that what happened with you guys?
and that's what I'm saying.
But they didn't.
They separated it out because we're employees of the board.
Right, and when they did those contracts, they put escalators in those contracts for you
Yes.
guys, right?
Yes,
So they did a 5-year contract with escalators, the
because,
last board did.
yes,
I think that's what Aaron's saying, if the 5-year, if the contracts with escalators worked for you and the superintendent and the treasurer, why are we not following that path on other administrative contracts? I think is what you're saying.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, we have a gentleman just was hired in, an administrator. I mean, he hasn't even worked, I don't think, I mean, unless the day's given to him. You know, he was hired in as a under 2 years. Well, he's coming in, he's walking in to another 5% on top of that, correct? I mean, that's a heck of a way, for not even working one day.
He gets the 5% too, then
Well, that's the starting wage for all those first.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so, yeah. So his contract starts off as first, so these pay increases will take effect all those first, that would be.
And what you have, and I'll say that you have a gentleman who has not had received a payment from us as a district at this point, and has been in correspondence quite frequently already, and hasn't even officially started. So he's raring to go,
Right.
to be here, and doing a lot of things on his own time at this point.
Right.
So.
But that's by choice. That's not, no one forcing, twisting his hands.
No, I think that you're correct, and that's it.
I don't know how you justify giving someone a raise the first year if we haven't even seen them work.
What would be the pay scale for that job description? It wouldn't be, person say,
But-
his raise, it would be across the board, that would be the new pay scale for that job. So like, if you have a job as the new pay scale now for that principal is this, so we didn't actually give him a raise, we gave the job description a raise. So if we came across the board and you work in a factory and all the floor sweepers get 5% raise, it isn't you per se, it's just if you're in that job description. So that's that's our job description salary set. So that if you go to and this is how I'm perceiving that, is if you go to that schedule, and you look under high school principal, middle school principal, everybody has a job description. So our new set of wages is this.
But it
It's
doesn't,
not for the person, that's the job. That's what we are paying as a school. I did do some, about looking into it. We, administrative wise, in the surrounding area, I went even out of the county because of the surrounding area. We are not at the top, but we're not at the bottom. We kind of hover right there in the mix of the middle. Our administrative salaries, if you compare it with other schools in the area, we're kind of right there hovering in the middle. We're definitely not at the top, but we're not at the bottom either. But, so I think we're fairly competitive, and that's where we are with our teaching staff, and we're right there hovering in the middle. So this just makes our administration be hovering right there in the middle.
so what we wrote on his contract as numbers does not, it's different. It's a different number now.
Yes, because that was, I had to do the contract as if it was now, but in the contract it states that it can be increased but never decreased. In his actual contract.
So like an administrative contract, we're paying as a district, what is it, what'd you say, $1.4 million out on administrative contracts? I mean, we do have certain individuals that administrators that have multiple jobs, that do multiple things. I mean, to me, I think a contract should be, hey, this is what you're doing. If we're adding more, then we're opening, there's got to be language in that contract where you're opening, if you're doing multiple jobs to increase that. But giving someone a contract and sitting down, I just don't feel that all of a sudden these individuals should get the same thing that the unions get. I mean, getting the 5%. I mean, but again, I'm not saying these certain individuals deserve, they do deserve a raise, that it could be more at times, or it could be, I just think we should do all administrative contracts like we have the superintendent and treasurers right now.
I thought, when I was just amazed when I was going through it, because then, and this is just me and I'm in my own world some days, I was trying to figure out the logic on some of these, because there were some positions that I thought should make more than what's on here, and was surprised that other positions make more than them, if that makes sense.
Some of the percentages were all different on that.
Well, not even
Not all
that,
of them,
just,
but some.
just looking at, and I'm just gonna say it, so looking at the high school principal, right, that position in 7 years of service is going to make more than our curriculum director. And not that I don't think one versus, I just feel like in my world, the curriculum director's role and what that role has to do is more than the high school principal. And I could go through any of these, and I'm just picking that one out because that, when I looked at it, I'll be honest with you, that was the first one I was like, wow, okay. But I understand what Aaron's saying too, if we have contracts and we're writing them, and we've done automatic escalators for treasurer and superintendent, why are we not looking at contracts and looking at escalators as opposed to following a union contract that our administrative staff gets the benefit of? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, because I don't know how do you evaluate, do you evaluate your team? I mean, you don't, right? So they just automatically get it. So, and I'm sure they do great. You know what I mean? I'm sure that they all do great, and I'm not even questioning that, but you also know from being in the private sector all those years, everybody gets evaluated. I mean, they do in my world, I'm sure in Lois's world they do. Aaron's part of the union contract, I don't know how you guys work it, but.
It's just, it's through negotiations. I mean, I don't see my boss who's non-union or management getting the same thing as what we're getting. I mean, there's a lot of things different, and maybe I'm seeing it just from my workforce. I mean, it's completely different. I mean, I do not, as my at UPS, I do not get, the stock that they get. I do not, because I can buy that outside of work if I choose to, but
And I'm just gonna give an example with Jody and maybe too, just an example. You have more roles in the district as well, right?
I do a lot, but also keep in mind that they pick up my estimates, so that's why I don't screen too much.
The pickup on the pickup.
Right.
And it is a perk, I agree. But it lends to the conversation, right? You have this contract that is this salary, and you get the pickup on the pickup. It's individualized, it's written for you, it's written as part of that agreement, which I think is coming back to where Aaron's coming from, that we have these contracts, right? And so maybe we have to think about how we address it differently. Because to negotiate a contract in a union setting, and then just by default, the administrative team gets it, and we don't evaluate them either. Yeah, it's just, I have a hard time sometimes because I do come from the private sector and I know what we have to do, and believe me, I'm not saying anybody doesn't deserve money. I'm not saying people are overpaid or underpaid. I'm just saying that the process that we have just may not be the best process for evaluating our team.
Well, I've been in a lot of different, three different school districts, but I know the school districts that typically it's the superintendent and the treasurer are not bound to a salary schedule for administrative or central office. So they negotiate off of their own. All the districts I've ever been in have, whenever a teaching union negotiates, and they negotiate an increase, or they may negotiate to pay more in insurance. The administrators also then have followed the same thing, where they have paid the same amount of insurance and they get the same amount of the increase. And that's been all the districts I've been in, and I know it's all our local ones are very, very similar in that process as far as what they do. I know I have some friends that work in other districts, and they're in principal positions and curriculum positions, and when their teachers negotiate their contract, then the administrative salary also reflects that.
No, and I know, and I agree, because I mean, even when I was on the board the first time, we pulled the superintendent and treasurer's contracts out of that, like your guys' is, because we didn't feel like that was the way to address that, right? Like, you're going into negotiations, you're really negotiating for your own, so you
Right.
gotta pull that out, it doesn't make sense.
Was it that way 8, 12 years ago?
Oh, it was, yeah, I've never been a fan of,
I mean, so,
it's the same thing with the OC, right? It's the Me Too. So they
Yeah.
got it, so I get it too.
Correct.
You know, it's the Me Too clause. It just kind of, and I'm not saying it's wrong, it's just
Yeah, it's
perpetuates where we
The
go.
school districts I checked, was a checking original, all of them had the same thing, it follows.
Oh, I'm sure most
So,
of them, do, yeah.
But, so if it's something that we want to look into, we can look into that when we're redoing the contracts with them, but the people now are already in their contracts without something negotiated in there, and it's not fair to now say, oh, okay, wait, no, we're not gonna, when they sign their contract with the assumption that that's the way it's always been, that they follow this process, now all of a sudden, when I say, well, you could have signed your contract now and get a raise now for the next 3 years. That's not fair, you know, I'm thinking that's not fair either to them.
I think what we need to do is just start with the next ones. The next contracts.
I think we have, yeah, we have to, as people, contracts come up, then if you want to do something like that, work with people at that time want to do that. I just think that to abruptly say, oh, we don't like that. or-
Well, and I mean, that's not what I'm saying. I mean, I'm only having a conversation that I think we need to think about it, and we need to, I mean, determine whether or not that, you know, just because we've always done it, does it make sense that we continue to do it that way?
Exactly.
Because I think even administratively, people should be evaluated. You know, I mean, what if Tracy, right, is the assistant treasurer, right? So,
We are.
I just asked her, she doesn't evaluate her staff.
The ones that are continuing contracts.
Oh, continuing contract, but the administrators, you are not.
Administrators are not on contract.
Yeah.
Administrators are not continuing, right?
No,
They're not.
no.
So
And
mine was an at-will state, right?
You take a look at you take a look at the salary schedules, the one that's in there, it's the central office salary schedule, which is the district secretary, assistant technology 2, superintendent, assistant treasurer, secretaries. Those are not administrative positions, so those can get a continuing contract. So, because they're not well, it's just like in teaching, you get to follow the contract sequence, a 1, 2, 2, 2, and then you get eligible for continuing. Those folks are eligible for continuing following that revised code sequence of contracts. Administrators can get a 1, 2, 3, 5 year
Yeah.
contract. And that when their contracts are up at those times and their contracts are up, and they're to be voted on again. But the other staff, as far as a payroll clerk or that are on those follow you're hired in with a 1-year contract, and then you go a 2-year, 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 and then you're eligible for a continuing. That would be 7 years. So in 7 years, you're eligible for a continuing contract.
But that's language for teaching, right? The continuing contract is language in the teaching realm, in the
Yes,
otherwise,
yes,
so
and-
it's not,
Yes
it's
and
not
no.
necessarily, because
There's non-teaching.
right,
It's
I
not a
told
teaching
you
contract too,
In
yes.
higher revised code.
that has
Yes.
continuing.
And that's 7 years, yes.
1, 2, 2, 2.
Yeah.
And
That's
then continue.
for like Amy Standard?
Yes.
guys?
Yes, but that just went into effect
Recently.
2019, 20.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that's something that's not.
Prior to that, you just had to go through your 90 days and you got to continue.
And part of where I'm coming from,
90, it wasn't before, after probationary, then it changed. I think it changed in 18 or 19 because then it went to, you had to go with the one.
That's when we changed it here. It had been, prior to that, had been higher revised code had changed. But we followed the higher revised code after that point, about 1920.
The only reason, and I even said this to Kim, you know, I'm looking at even this one, and that's why I asked like about the staff. You know, for instance, the superintendent, secretary, assistant treasurer, which Amy's, again, I'm just gonna go, because Amy's on here, she's got 26 years of experience. And this is public record, right? So she's gonna make $26.68 an hour, which is $55,000. And she could make way more than that in the private sector. So I guess that's where I'm coming from, is that in agreement with what Aaron's saying on these administrative contracts and stuff, I think sometimes our staff does need to be evaluated because maybe she deserves more money. Maybe the job she's doing validates more than 20. I mean, I'm hiring now for an HR and an AR person, and both is higher than that. Do you know what I mean? I mean, Amy does a great job. I just worry that the next time, because Amy's going to retire sometime in the next 3 years, I think. You know what I mean? Oh, this year. So she's retiring this year. Are we going to be able to hire somebody for $55,000 to do all that she's doing? That's what makes me nervous. I'm not talking from the 50,000 foot view. I'm not trying to get in the weeds. I'm just saying from a bigger picture, maybe we do need to have a discussion on how this all flows through, because I don't know that just because we've always done it that way doesn't, and just because other districts do it that way doesn't mean it's necessarily the way we have to do it.
But I would say that
Right.
having a salary schedule outline is beneficial, because whenever I first became a principal, it was, you went to the master's column, highest paid, and got a daily rate, multiplied the number of days that I would work, and that was my salary. And I think our salaries are pretty similar with, I mean, our principal's daily rate and some of our daily rates are almost identical to what a teacher's daily rate is. They're just working more days.
Yeah. No, I don't doubt it. I just, yeah, because I went through and I was trying to figure out what I was doing, but I don't have a problem with, you know, probably most of these either, but I agree, there are some people, I think, in my world, I would say they probably deserve more money, but it's what it is.
Going forward, I mean, is that something we could,
I think Lois
Do?
is right, that we should look at these when contracts come up.
When they come up?
Already for the superintendent and the treasurer, we're already doing that. I mean, it was done before we got on board, it was done, they did that, they had automatic escalators in there for their contracts, so maybe it is something that you look at.
look at our next administrator going forward from this date?
We'd have to wait till contracts are out.
Right.
Yeah, no, I agree with those.
Right.
Can you involve some administration to talk about like the pros and cons about that?
I don't have any problem doing that.
I think there would need to be a committee of 2 board members, and then discussing that, and then having board principal participants and having that discussion, because you want to also take comparables to other districts and saying, okay, this position here, now what is a high school principal? This high school principal for this district is here, and where else in our areas. Now let's find that common ground.
Right.
Because you can't pay $20,000 throw that out as a number, and then, but the next person, you know, our average is 35,000 as high school principals.
Yeah,
So you can't,
no, I agree.
you have to be competitive to those.
Once you start negotiating salaries differently, you're also negotiating days and insurance and other things that are in the contract.
Very difficult. Payroll to-
Yeah.
Where do you wanna get into, I believe?
12 different contracts with your administration trying to keep up with
And that payroll.
They already make the payroll person's underpaid, I already said.
So that's payroll, it's underpaid, really have to be done, but yeah,
I just,
I think it's something we have to look at as a picture.
No, and that's, I think more than anything, it's just more for discussion to get it out there, to get people's, I mean, we're not settling on anything, right? It's a conversation and how, maybe at the end of the day, everybody steps back and says, you know what, maybe it is the best way to handle it, but until you explore it and look at it, you can't make that judgment.
I guess I get, my biggest thing is why should they reap the same as the union? I mean, and maybe that 5% that the union gets, maybe the administrator should get, I'm just throwing this out there, 8%. I don't know. 6, I don't know, depending on what they do. Just because I don't feel you should sit here, hey, I'm getting the same thing as a union employee and I'm going to get the same raise and I'm going to do less now. And what are you going to do? You're under a contract.
But that kind of language makes us feel like garbage. I'll just say it. Maybe I shouldn't talk out loud. But I feel that underappreciates the work that your administrative staff does, and I'm having a hard time keeping quiet about it. Because, we've got good administrators here that put time and time and time into their job, and their life is their work is their life. And when those kind of comments come out, it makes us feel like we need to look somewhere else.
But I don't think that's what Aaron.
No, that's not, I'm not saying that.
He's just saying it's not entitled, he's saying you're not entitled, just entitled to it, because I think that's what he's trying to say more so. That it's more individually based on performance.
Absolutely.
I think that's what he's trying to say.
No, I'm not putting any administrator down on what they do. I mean, as I mentioned, I didn't name you, but you have multiple jobs here.
And I'm not speaking on.
No, but that's why I didn't say Judy, but I mean, you do multiple things here. I mean, maybe you should be compensated a little bit more than what you're getting paid. But why,
And I'm just gonna throw it out there because I'm sitting here trying to think, how's this gonna fit? To do a 5-year forecast?
It's unknown.
Yeah, it's unknown.
Yes.
But it's unknown anyway when we do a 5-year
Right,
contract.
but at
We need
least
a
I
5-year
kind of
contract,
can
so-
say, okay,
Well, Kim, it's just that whatever, I mean, my thought is whatever that pot of money is, that is 5% of an administrator's group of salary is 5%, is the pool of money that Mr. Wrench has to determine how that gets divvied up. I mean, it can't exceed because you don't have the money to do that, but you do have, there are parameters, it's not unlimited. But, I mean, I think that's what, Cindy, I think that's what you guys are trying to get.
Right, I mean, what makes
Still
us,
have to use that, maybe
Right,
it is
right.
that
It's only not going to
negotiated
be
amount
that
of money.
you just have to divvy it up different, kind of,
Is that-
right,
think
I mean,
that's-
we have three administrators in the audience tonight. Okay, what makes you think you should get 5% and then our superintendent and treasurer are only getting 3%? Is that correct?
Correct.
Just because that's what you negotiated. It doesn't, to me, it doesn't make sense. I don't know how the rest of you, I mean, it does not make sense.
Because, Aaron, I think the other thing too, on the flip side is, we also will take on paying more for our insurance too, which is part of, I think, what was negotiated, right? That
Correct.
the pay out of the insurance is more, which, so the compensation of getting more of a raise, some of that money is going towards paying for insurance.
Right.
So we'll still be subjected to that. But, that it goes both ways. I mean, so, yeah, we're getting the pluses, but we're also getting the negatives of it too.
with it individualized, are you able to address the healthcare premiums? And
I would say in the,
That's hard.
yeah, because when the system that we're on now, that the Stark County Hall put us on, you either have to consider classified or certified, and that's how the ratings are loaded into the system. So basically, no, they're not an option.
but in the realm of things, as far as that, I know that, I talked with a friend of mine and they said that they gave an association, here's your amount of money that you can have. Here's your 3%, here's your 5%, here's your whatever, divide it how you want. So they divided up how they wanted as a team. Well, when they did that, they had part of the team one classification got more, one got just a little bit more, one got a lot more. And in the end, it got voted down because there was no consistency and say, if you're going to get a 5, a 3, or whatever, it's across the board. It is to single out. That's the difficult piece of it, because then whenever other negotiations partake, so if you're saying that Jody gets to negotiate her contract at a different rate, and then Beth negotiates hers at a different rate, and then you go into an OPSI or a CEA, then you're factoring in that, well, I want Jody's 8%, but we don't want to shoot for best 2. So all that kind of plays in the whole ballgame of negotiations. But I'm not disagreeing with where we are, because I'm not disagreeing that Jody doesn't need to be hired as an assistant superintendent curriculum director.
That's my fault, Jody. When I
But
saw that, I was like trying to figure it out. So
But that gives a starting block of where you begin, as far as she resigns and you hire someone off the street, and then you know the starting block of where that person should be looking towards, because if you get comparables, it says, what do you get paid at New Philadelphia for the same position? What do you get paid at Dover for the same position? What do you get paid at Indian Valley for the same position? And then you get your starting block then from that point, but you already have it within what is on the table for this evening.
Okay. Any other board discussion? Any corrections or additions?
I don't have anything. I readdressed the one thing this morning when we first started that I sent out this morning with the agenda.
Any items to be pulled? You have a specific time that you have to do.
You have your 6:30 thing.
6:30. I think she could adjust that.
it should take as long as your leads,
I was gonna
right?
say,
Yeah,
I mean,
as long as just shoot through, just want to shoot through the items.
okay. That's,
I'm sorry.
No, just go through your items.
oh, you're okay not going through that? And,
I read it.
yeah, I mean, if the audience wants to see a financial report, it'll be posted to that website.
Okay.
So, approve the financial report for, the month of May, and the payment of bills for May, the minutes of the board meeting of May 8th. There was one on the certificate, the cyber and evolution in terms of that was presented by a guided school plan. That starts from July 1st to 30th. The amounts are listed 2,293 for cyber and 427 for the evolution. Establish a termination benefits fund, so we can start accumulating resources to pay termination benefits. And then the health insurance rate set forth by the county hall are listed. And then we did have one change order through benchmark construction at the high school entrance.
Make a motion to approve the treasurer's reports and recommendations.
Roll call. Mrs. Host,
Yes.
Mrs. Grandison. Yes. Mr. Pacho,
Yes.
Mr. Miles,
Yes.
Mrs. Fluor. Yes.
All right, go through the items quickly here. Motion and second for the following items. We have a couple contracts with 90-day probationary periods. Special Services Secretary, new student registrar, effective June 20th. That is an OPSI position. Morgan Cantarelli, computer aide, again, that's an OPSI position. Administrative contract for Mary Jane Guerin as occupational assistant, 38,000. We have some resignations, Ashley Bendel and Scott Shaw. Allison Delaney as a certified sub for the this coming school year at $90 per day. Approve a 1-year leave of absence for Taryn Householder for this next coming school year. Employed, please scribble out the Trinity House, grade 3 teacher, pending her new employee credentials. Kim has called today on some of the schools where she's long-term sub, and will determine how many years of STRS she has as being a long-term sub to place her. We have 1 year confirmed so far. We have paying the following individuals for speech intervention training, and that's through IDEA disproportionality funds. Lisa Summers is speech interventions for disproportionality for speech services for this summer. Extended school year with the ESC on the dates listed. Approved the summer tutors that we had that began last week. Non-renewal all co-curricular, spring curricular activities, contracts. We have supplementals for co-curricular supplementals. That's a lengthy list. We have some athletic contracts for this coming school year for volleyball for Reagan Wanasak, Allison Delaney for girls basketball. That will be head. Wrestling, we have Kyle Warner, Dustin Warner as assistant, Colin Clark as assistant, cross country, junior highs, Eric Peterson, and football. We have Brennan Schaefer, Vince Terakidis, and Travis Poland, and we'll still now look for one more. We have some Ohio High School Athletic Association softball tournament payments to be made. Approved the overnight 6th grade field trip for Camp Muskingum, October 4th through 6th. The academic calendar to reflect through the bargaining agreement that days 6 through 8 will be blizzard bags. Blended learning form, that will allow us to have online learning, but students still have to come to school 51% of the time. So some of our high school kids will do some online learning, but still come to school. And a central office salary schedule as presented as part of your packet.
Have a motion to accept.
I make a motion to approve the superintendent's recommendation.
Thank you.
Second.
Roll call.
Mrs. Host?
Yes.
Mr. Miles?
Yes.
Mr. Cottrell?
Yes.
Mr. Ferguson?
Yes.
Mrs. Wolf?
I have a couple items I have separated. Approves the payment for the following individual for payment with its proportionality funds for speech intervention training. That's Veronica Cottrell.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Host?
Yes.
Mrs. Ferguson?
Yes.
Mr. Cottrell?
Abstain.
Mr. Miles?
Yes.
Mrs. Wolf? Yes.
And then the last item was approve the administrative salary schedule as presented.
Make a motion to approve superintendent's recommendation.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Host?
Yes.
Mrs. Ferguson?
Yes.
Mr. Cottrell?
Yes.
Mr. Miles?
Yes.
And Mrs. Wolf? Yes.
We need to go into executive session for board.
You're conferring with your attorney. Is there an item for that?
C, conference with the, C, conference with the attorney for public comment concerning.
No.
Employment.
Employment.
You have a motion to go into executive session with no action to follow.
I'll make it.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Cottrell?
Yes.
Mr. Miles?
Yes.
Mrs. Ferguson?
Yes.
Mrs. Host?
Yes.
Mrs. Wolf? Yes. 6:35.
Seven.
So that's the record reflect.
Yeah, 7:23.
Okay. And then I make a motion to go back into executive session.
And we're going back into executive session to discuss
Matters, confidential matters pertaining to collective bargaining.
negotiations with the parties. Which is,
I mean, you should.
Who's got the second?
I'll second.
Okay. Cindy? Or Mrs. Host?
Yes.
Mr. Miles?
Yes.
Mr. Cottrell?
Yes.
You have a motion to
Adjourn.
the meeting.
So moved.
I'll second that.
Still there.